All right. Hello and good morning, good afternoon. And I'm super excited. I'm super pumped up. My name is Cain. I live out of Sacramento, California. Whether you're live listening to the replay, then this is probably a call that you're going to want to just tune in, dial in, pay attention to, because this is the Midday Motivational call. This is a call that happens every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 noon Eastern. And so, for instance, if you're listening to the replay, I encourage you to take a pen, piece of paper. I want you to write down this number. I want you to write down the access code, and I want you to schedule, like if you have like an Alexa, if you have like a Google, if you have a Siri or whatever device you use where you could just say, hey, Google, hey, Alexa, can you set an alarm for every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8:50 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or if you live on the East Coast? Because what's going to happen is when you plug into these calls, when you plug into environments like this and communities of people that are all moving into a direction for the next level of success, then what's going to happen is there's going to be a vibrational frequency that, let's say we're to take a look at a chart. And so topic today is going to be, let's say it's going to be the vibrational scale of consciousness, or just the vibrational scale of energy, just the vibrational scale of how you take action in your life, the vibrational scale of the way that you handle relationships around you, the vibrational scale of how you show up, and how you do anything is how you do everything. And so one of the places I do want to start is just a quick background, just for anyone that's possibly listening to the replay, or maybe kind of hearing this for the first time. So my background is in direct sales. I've been in direct sales since 2010. I was first introduced to the network marketing industry of all industries. Some of you are probably joking because maybe you own like a small business, and maybe you're someone that has just completely gone a different direction. Well, what happened for me was back in 2010, I was introduced to the concept of being able to earn through multiple streams of income, possibly earning through time leveraging, where essentially you're earning through the efforts of systems or other people, where you can get more than 24 hours in a day of time and like the production that you can actually make happen in a single 24-hour time period, and as well as residual monthly passive income that when you build it up, when you do the work once and get paid over and over and over again, so much that it can take care of your monthly expenses. And so it was through that time period where I was 18 years old, about 18 and a half. I was getting ready to turn 19. I was fresh out of high school. The only job that I've ever had up until that point, I was essentially in a legal office as a legal administrative assistant, as kind of like a file clerk. I'd make court runs. I was handling kind of the court documents and working with the compliance or the client, setting appointments, and just things like that. That's essentially what I was doing before I got introduced to a new way of living. And obviously what that came with was a whole different community. But it wasn't an instant kind of shoot up the ladder. What it was just an introduction to a new world, a new possibility, a new way of possibly making things happen. And so like when I first got started in that space, I went around and was just kind of like hitting up strangers in Walmarts and shopping malls, suit and tie, tapping people on the shoulders, just saying, hey, you look like a sharp person. Are you open to a business opportunity? And the truth of the matter was that when I would do those things, I would immediately come against the highest resistance. I don't know if you could ever experience this, or maybe you're laughing because maybe you've had similar experiences, but there was very high resistance when it came to the concept of influence, when it came to the concept of moving people into action, or maybe when you're starting a new relationship, the way that you begin the relationship, does the relationship start with resistance, or does it start with kind of this flow and a natural law of, like, if you were to just think of like maybe a magnet, are you pulling, are you creating more of a pull, or are you creating more of a push with the people around you? And so at that time, I was just so untrained. I was ignorance on fire. I was passionate, wanted to make things happen, but there was some work that needed to be done. And here's what I want to kind of progress to you from that time frame is, when I stumbled upon the internet, I stumbled onto communities of people that really understood a few key concepts about energy. Because, I mean, shoot, like if you get on the internet and let's say you're trying to build a business from home, or you're trying to work from home, or you're essentially using maybe your mobile phone to communicate with people across the world, whether it's through social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, you got YouTube out there. just the modality of communication from your phone, it's not always face-to-face. And so while there's ways to replicate sort of this face-to-face interaction where, like you would sit down in a coffee restaurant, well, the mind can't tell the difference whether the person that might be coming through like a phone, maybe in the form of like an audio, or maybe just from energy from one side of a mobile device going through the airwaves and coming out your side, or maybe you're watching someone on the screen because maybe you're watching a video, the mind can't tell the difference of whether that person's in the room or not. And so what will happen is if you get plugged in to maybe watching a certain video or maybe listening to a certain audio, the mind can't tell the difference whether that person's in the room, so it feels like a real conversation. And when you understand this concept, you can understand that you can transfer hope, you can transfer energy, and you can transfer literally sort of the ideas that you have. And then you can also transfer just one more thing, and that's going to be the heart. People can feel the heart. They can feel the passion. So if you're selling a product or a service and you're looking to really get it into, maybe if let's say there's like resistance in the market, maybe it's a new concept, a new idea. Maybe you're just now introducing something that's completely new, something that maybe your market just has not had a chance to conceive as a reality for them because maybe it's just so new. Well, how do you break through that? How do you break through the barriers? How do you break through sort of the mold of what's possible? It starts with your energy. It starts with what people feel. It starts with that vibe that you give off. Your vibe attracts your tribe. And so one of the things that I would encourage you to do by the time we pop off the phone, or when we do pop off the phone, I would encourage you to go search maybe vibrational energy scales and Google, because I really want you to see it. Like there's going to be a bunch of different charts, but I would just encourage you to get the concept of what's going on. So let's say that we're like Google vibrational energy scales. I have one actually pulled up here, so I'm just going to kind of read up the list. And so the way that it works is there's going to be maybe a vertical line, and at the bottom, there's going to be, let's say it's a lower frequency. And so let's just say as a human being, you can be more extroverted, or you can actually be more introverted in a sense. And I don't mean like with personalities, I just mean within the form of energy. And the way that energy works, there's a brilliant guy that had a chance to live in this world, and his name was Albert Einstein. And so he came up with the formula for energy, where it was like E equals mc squared. E equals mc squared, which proves that energy exists. Meaning that, for instance, like whether you're knocking on a wall, whether you're looking at a glass of water, whether you're just looking at the air just flow around you, and maybe you can just feel it, maybe you can't even see it. Because here's what happens. So like, let's say we're knocking on a wall. Why is it that you can knock on a wall, but when you knock on air, it doesn't make the same noise? Because what happens is the energy in the wall has slowed down so much. It's slowed down so much. Like if we were to take like a microscope and really start taking a look at like all the detail in the molecules and get real technical, everything that's in the wall has now become solid because it's slowed down so much that now we see it as just that. It's a wall. But why is it that when we knock on the air that it doesn't make the same noise? It's because the energy is flowing so fast. The same molecules are flowing so fast that you could wave your hand in the air and you're just kind of moving all this energy all around, and it's just different is all it is. Like, so like maybe the chair that you're sitting in, maybe the TV that some people watch, like it's just, there's energy all around. And it's the same way for your communication. It's the same way the thoughts that are in your mind, the thoughts, the words, the beliefs that will come from who you are as a person, subconsciously, the words that you choose, the way that you feel, the state, the facial expressions, and who you are on the inside, your internal thoughts about what you believe is possible, any resistances that you have, all that will flow out of you. And so if energy has been off, if there are certain things that you've been resisting, then now is the time to make a decision, because now you become open. So as we look at the chart here, So if we're going to start looking at there's many different charts, but I'm just going to kind of read up the one I'm looking at right now, is at the lowest frequency moving up. So this is moving up the scale. We've got shame at the bottom. We've got guilt. We have apathy moving up. Then it moves into possibly grief. A big one is fear. We have desire moving up. We have anger moving up. We have pride moving up. We have courage moving up. We have neutrality. Starting to get, like, I don't know if you can kind of feel it. It's starting to kind of pick up the pace. It's starting to move a little bit faster, like as you can kind of see these molecules just vibrate a whole lot faster. Moving up, we have willingness. Moving up, we have acceptance. Moving up, we have just the reason, the passion. Moving up, we have love. We have love. Moving up, we have joy. Moving up, we have peace. Moving up, we have enlightenment. And so that's not all in, I guess, like a specific order. Like if you go look at other charts, it's going to vary on some level. But this is the concept that I want you to get, is I want you to kind of think like, man, like if you're just like standing with a straight posture and you're feeling the most powerful that you've ever been, I want you to imagine like this kind of vertical, like if you were like standing on a chart, like it's you on the chart, and there's like this vertical line about sort of your measurement of energy, sort of the measurement of the vibrational frequency that you're putting out there, not only in the marketplace, but in your relationships and with your friends, with maybe just like if you go out and you interact with someone that you don't know, what type of frequency are you putting out? Because what will happen is there is a concept called the Law of Reciprocity. And so let's say you're walking down the street, someone's going to walk next to you. And so you look over. And so I know it's like 2019, like we got a lot of people on their phones, and you might have both people on their phones just walking by, and they're just looking at the screen, maybe on Facebook or whatnot, and they look at each other, just keep walking. Well, what happens if that same situation occurs and you look up and you smile at the other person? Remember, like you might not have had any contact. You don't know who this person is. Like you're just walking down the street. This other person's walking the other way. Well, what happens when you look up and you smile at the other person? In most cases, don't they look up and smile back? Same situation, you're walking down the street. You look up and you say, "Hey, how are you doing today?" In most cases, don't they respond, "Good, how are you doing?" It's the law of reciprocity. The energy that you put out there, they will get back. It's the same thing. Like if you're trying to get like a goal you've never attained before, you're trying to get outside of your comfort zone. You're trying to go from, man, I feel low energy about this new idea, to moving into the field of, man, I feel just so great. I feel so awesome. I feel so grateful that this is even on the map for me. Like this is even possible. I feel so grateful that, man, like this idea that I've never even had a chance to experience before, I see it. Like the clouds like just kind of parted. It just got moved, and now it just became an open possible goal for me. And because I'm going to shoot for it. I'm going to come up with a game plan on how to get it. I'm going to take massive action. I'm going to figure out how to make it possible. Guess what happens with that energy? There's other people that are vibrating at that same level. And so what happens is your mind has a tendency to delete, distort, and generalize any information that doesn't necessarily apply to what you are looking to do. So whatever your intention is, it's always so important to create an intention, because the intention itself can sometimes be powerful enough to help you express the energy that will attract the people around you that are looking to do the same thing. And when you have enough people that are gathered around you, kind of like you're a magnet, then what happens is you find that, man, it's so much more powerful to be unified than it is to be perfect around an idea or around a goal or around an objective or around something that that you believe is probably the most valuable in this world around this idea. And because there's more energy, because there's things that you delete, distort, and generalize from the lower frequencies, and they're not even on your radar anymore. Like, for instance, you could get past the point where, you know how like sometimes you have a fear to do things because maybe you've always done things like a certain way? Did you know that you can take the fear and you can just delete, distort, generalize the fear to where there's no fear because you're more focused on love, and the love that you share with others, they reciprocate back. And because you shared love, they share love with you, and there's that reciprocation. What happens is more love is created. So then it extends past you, extends past the other person, and more people get attracted and start getting in the state of love. And so there tends to be a snowball effect when you make a decision consciously to start operating at a higher frequency and a higher vibration, that you'll start experiencing more people in life that also vibrate at the frequency of love. And when you vibrate at the higher energies, let's use, it's always tough going from like just the whole energy and then like thinking like, man, like business, like, because like some people have like predetermined notions of what business is. Some people have a predetermined notion of what sales is. Like, for instance, they don't realize that sales is just a really big game of personal development and growing and getting better at who you want to be on a daily basis. And that's one of the ways that you can learn to work with people a little bit better and find out what people want and they desire, and really help become a better problem solver. And so what's cool about the energy, and when you combine it with the business, and when you realize with Albert Einstein's energy formula equals MC squared, guess what money is? Money is just another form of energy. As you speed up the energy with the money, guess what happens? Money starts to flow. It might flow from you, it might flow back to you, but if you feel resistant, let's say you take like your palm and you're holding it out in front of you and you're resistant with money because, man, I'm just experiencing so much hurt and pain right now. I've got to hold on. You got a closed fist. Hold your hand out in front of you and have a closed fist. Guess what happens? You can hold on to the money, but guess what? You stopped. You stopped the flow of more abundance coming back in because you're afraid to release it. And when you open your hand out in front of you, then you realize that when you let go, it could be letting go of money, then now there's more room for money to come back. When you release the energy, when you release some of the pain and hurtful experiences that might have happened in the past, because you think about it, like, oh man, some of the stuff that's happened back there, it's still sitting back there, and man, I gotta tweak some of it, and I feel like I gotta pick some of that stuff out of my mind and just throw it away. I gotta release it, I gotta forgive. Then what happens is you open yourself up to now feeling and getting environments of love, getting environments of people who are just at peace with themselves, people who are enlightened, who can, like, have you ever seen the people that say they can see energy, they can feel energy? It's because they're operating at such a high frequency. And some of that stuff might sound weird because it is. Like, if you're operating at two different frequencies, they just don't necessarily mesh. They don't necessarily match. So the experience of the world that you're in, perception is going to be projection. So you can only see that which is you. Therefore, you can only see the beliefs that you might have had up until this point. And when you become more flexible with your behavior, you can step into the model of someone else's world, and now you can pace them to a different place. I'll give you an example. So I was recently studying some communication methods, and so there was this there's this rock star, and his name was Dr. Milton Erickson, just world-renowned kind of hypnotherapist, and so I'd been studying some of the work. And so here's one of the things that he did with some of his sessions. So there was this little boy that was sucking his thumb. There's just a little defiant little boy just sucking his thumb, 6-year-old little boy sucking his thumb, right? And the parents brought him in because like, man, how like, we don't want to punish the kid. Like we want to just figure out like, what can we do to get into the model of this boy's world and get him to stop sucking his thumb, right? Well, here's what Milton Erickson did. What he did was he had a conversation with the little boy and just asked like how come like you're sucking your thumb? Well, I'm a 6-year-old little boy. I want to suck my thumb, you know? And the parents are probably telling him to stop sucking his thumb, and he's probably just doing it defiantly, and it's all he ever thinks about. And then so Milton Erickson says, man, like that's okay. Like I don't think you should listen to your parents. I don't think you should stop sucking your thumb. You know, what I think you should do is I think you actually should keep sucking your thumb because you're a 6-year-old little boy. You're a 6-year-old little boy. The 6-year-old little boy should suck their thumb. But if you're a 7-year-old young man, you would never do that. You would never do that if you're a 7-year-old young man, but you're a 6-year-old little boy. You would suck your thumb. Funny enough, the kid left that room, and so he kept sucking his thumb. He kept sucking his thumb. The day that he turned 7, 2 weeks later, stopped sucking his thumb forever. And it's cool because like when you operate at such a higher vibration frequency, you can see things that are different. Here's another example. So maybe take like another little boy, right? Same person, Milton Erickson. And so how like, have you ever seen those kids where they're at like grocery stores and like the kids will like start screaming, you know, and they just make this big fuss. The parents are like trying to get this kid like, oh man, you gotta get up. Like how do we fix this situation, you know? And so like you got like this little boy that's just off the wall bouncing all over the place. And so here's another good example of energy in the way that it works. So Milton Erickson gets into the office, boy's bouncing all over the place. And so because Milton Erickson couldn't like replicate that, he couldn't mirror that because his body physically couldn't get up and kind of match the same pace as the boy. And typically what happens is with behavioral flexibility, like in that case of like, let's say like a grocery store or something, who actually has more behavioral flexibility? Is it the kid or is it the parent? It's the kid. The kid's got a lot more flexible behaviors and therefore it's going to control the situation. So here's what Milton Erickson did. What he did was rather than trying to match and mirror and try to get this high energy up just to be able to tune into the same vibrational frequency as the kid in order to enter in the model of the world and help change it, here's what he did. He took his finger and started tapping on the desk to the rate of the kid's heartbeat. Going faster and eventually slowing down. Noticing that when he did that to the rate of the kid's breathing, on a subconscious level, through the laws of energy and vibration, the kid started to slow down. And to me, that's just an interesting story. Because to me, it's just like, man, that's crazy how energy works. That when combined like with the law of reciprocity, that you can create kind of these very subtle shifts in your life just through the way that energy works. And when you learn to become a master of yourself, when you become a master of your own energy, when you become a master of your state, and really striving to remain in the happy state all of the time, then you're going to attract different things. And one of the best ways that I believe, and we're going to wrap this call up here in the next probably 3 minutes, is that if there's anything that you should do to increase the vibration very quickly without going in, like, I know I'm doing like a bunch of study and stuff, but how do you do it very simple? The simple way is you have to give more gratitude. You have to give more gratitude. Gratitude changes everything around you. It changes it on an emotional level. It changes your social kind of influence. If you aren't in direct sales, or maybe you're in something else, you're in a small business, or like whatever your career is, like whatever you're choosing to do, it's going to bring you more happiness there. It's going to bring you more happiness with your health. Man, I'm so grateful I have the ability to go to the gym today. Man, I know there's some people that they wish they had that ability. It's going to change your personality. And when you have all of those things in alignment and you're attracting people that are also on the scale of being happier and just vibrating at a higher frequency, and getting people that might be more influential to really like you on a deeper level, and being able to strengthen your emotions and really just replace the need for the way that you I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. You're going to have to forgive me for just a moment. Essentially what gratitude does is it opens up this, like, I don't know, like, I wish I could use like the word vortex. I don't know if that like freak out some people, but it's kind of like a vortex of gratitude where it's like you can kind of rip, like if you take like a knife, you could rip these like this energy in the universe, open it up, and you can create an inflow of new abundance and new people and new relationships. And past experiences, leave them in the past, you cut it off, you forgive, and you start new. And when you do that, something's going to shift with the people around you. There's going to be a noticeable difference. And I believe that when you combine that, and especially like in an arena like what we do, I believe everything's going to change for you. And so if you have a gratitude log, a gratitude journal, what I encourage you to do is, or even in our team Facebook group, it just kind of depends on who you are and what you're comfortable with. I mean, we can try to push you outside the comfort zone. I encourage you to write down what you're grateful for today. I encourage you to write down some of the things that you're grateful. It might be people that you're with. It might be some of the, like, I mean, it could be the business, it could be some products, the way that they make you feel, or it could just be that you even woke up this morning. Some people didn't have that luxury. They didn't have the ability to still be breathing and have their chest rise up and down, or they didn't have the ability to be standing on their 2 feet and feeling that tingling sensation as they walk around, or maybe have an earphone in their ear, or maybe plug in the calls like this. So what I encourage you to do is write down what you're grateful for, really identify what it is, seek that which you do want. And that's the Midday Motivational call for today. My name is Brian Cain, and I will see you on the next call. Talk to you soon.